Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So, second part is multilingualism, which is also a part of the IKS. So, we'll see what is multilingualism, what is significant about this connection between knowledge, script, and linguistics, significance of multilingualism in IKS, limitations of monolingualism, advantage of multilingualism, latest proof of mental health related to multilingualism, and social cohesion due to multilingualism. These are the things that we are going to discuss. So, what is multi? It is the use of more than one language by an individual or a group of speakers. Roughly 40% of the world population use more than one language. However, less than 10% are actually comfortable with more than one language in reading, writing, and speaking reasonably well. Okay. In fact, by design, the way we are, all of us are multilingual. Because right now, all our mother tongue is different, but we are all speaking and interacting in English. So already two languages guaranteed. Many of us have a language which doesn't have a script, so we would have learned a third language. So knowing three languages is reasonably common in India, even though we may not be able to read, write, and speak well in all the three. Okay. India by culture has one of the world's largest population who can speak in more than one language. The ability to speak in more than one language is called polyglots. We also, by nature, we speak a lot. So in many houses in rural area, there are no toilets, but one or two mobiles. That's one reason why India has the world's largest mobile market. Okay, we speak a lot. It's a good sign. It's also a bad sign because we speak a lot of useless things. It's better we speak a lot, but we speak more useful things. Okay. Motivation for multilingualism. Look at this 8 Gnanapith Award winners from Kannada. Okay. Karnataka has the India's largest number of Gnanapith Award winners from any state or in any language. And at least 3 of them, right? 4, I would say. 4 of the 8 have a mother tongue which is not Kannada. Okay. But they are all Gnanapith Award winners in Kannada. So what does this indicate? It indicates that if you know more than one language, you are able to express things little better. Of course, it's not a limitation for somebody like Shivram Karanta and others, but nevertheless, this is. Look at the other interesting motivation for multilingualism. This revered person is blind and he can speak 22 different languages. He's a scholar in Sanskrit and in Hindi. He never used Braille because he could not read. He's a lifelong chancellor of Jagadguru Rambhadracharya Handicapped University Chitrakoota, which gives UG-PG education for children with 4 types of disabilities: blind, deaf, physical this thing, and mental challenges. He's author of 80 books and is the 2023 Gnanapith Award winner. Okay. So he can speak only 22 languages. Okay. Even though he's a blind, he is probably more productive and more purposeful than many of us. Other thing for multilingualism, look at these people. Please, no background talk. Mute, please. All of you know R.K. Narayan. All of you know, many of you, I won't say all, many of you know M.N. Srinivas. Very few of you know C.R. Rao. I think all of you know Bhimsen Joshi. What is interesting is R.K. Narayan's mother tongue is Tamil, and he became one of the most profound writers in English. M.N. Srinivas' mother tongue is Tamil. He's a world-renowned social anthropologist. C.R. Rao was born in Karnataka in Hoovinhadagli. Mother tongue is Telugu, but he's the world's greatest statistician come mathematician. He died just 4 or 5 months back at the age 102 years and 8 months. And of course, Bhimsen Joshi, whose mother tongue is Kannada, but became very famous in Marathi and Hindi. Okay. Of course, I have one other statistics. I have met all of them. I was going to his house because his grandson was my schoolmate. I met M.N. Srinivas in NIAS in his last days. C.R. Rao I have met in Indian Institute of Science. Bhimsen Joshi, of course, many concerts and this thing. But what is interesting is all of them have shown so well at world level, and none of them had a language which was English or any other language. Okay, so it's very interesting how they developed and all that. So being proficient, being familiar, willing to learn other languages is a big asset. Okay. The last slide for motivation is this. I'm sure you can guess. Rabindranath Tagore got Nobel Prize for his work Gitanjali, which was in Bengali, but he got it because it was translated to English by Yeats. Those days, Nobel Prize was not given to any non-English literature. That's the reason why somebody like Tolstoy, right, who is far more famous, probably the world's most famous writer, did his original writing in Russian. Okay. Original language Russian, all his writing in Russian, known all over the world because his works was translated to English. Even more interesting is this gentleman. Many of you may not know. He's a Spanish writer from country of Colombia. He's Gabriel Marquez, who actually was waiting 40 years for Nobel Prize because he wrote in Spanish, and those days Spanish literature work was not given Nobel Prize. It took 40 years for the rule to change, by which time he had become world famous, and once his books became translated to English, he got the Nobel Prize. By that time, the rules also had changed. So it's amazing that so many good things were prevented because you had a stupid rule that only in one language knowledge system has to be recognized. The best example is Lata Mangeshkar, who was probably sung in, I'm told, in some 28 different languages, some 18,000 songs, including songs in Southeast Asia, Malay, maybe even in Thailand and other places. Amazing diversity. Her mother tongue is not even Marathi. I think it's Konkani. She's from Goa. So unbelievable. Okay. And Konkani as a mother tongue does not have a script. So you write in Devanagari, like what we have in Kurg language. It doesn't have a script. Okay. So mother tongue is interesting, but it should not be a limiting factor. So learning other languages and being multilingual is a great asset, and we will see that there are other aspects. Okay. So why multilingualism? Critical mechanisms to understand, communicate, and transact with others. Cultural, knowledge system, trade. For example, somebody has very interesting idea in Telugu and I don't know. I will never know that because that gentleman cannot speak in any language other than Telugu and I cannot understand Telugu. So I miss out a very important aspect of knowledge system. Enhances the knowledge system of everyone when interaction, assimilation, integration of diverse and richer thoughts and experience and perceptions, perhaps. The best example is this. See, the man who influenced Mahatma Gandhi to be what he was is Tolstoy. Tolstoy had the greatest influence on Mahatma Gandhi to become a reformer that he became eventually and took a strong part. In fact, the ashram he built in South Africa as an experiment to learn himself to become a freedom fighter and a social reformer, he called it Tolstoy farm. So Tolstoy has had the greatest influence. So if Tolstoy's work was not in English, Mahatma Gandhi would never have got inspired. Okay. Yeah. So today, if you look at Oxford Dictionary, even word like chutney, catamaran, or Oxford English Dictionary words. Okay. It is not necessary that our own language has the best expression for human thought. For example, the word prayashchit. It's a beautiful word. You don't get that word in any other language which correctly represents the meaning for that. Okay. Amazing. Introspection, regret, all these are so distant compared to this action which summarizes the word prayashchit, right? Similarly, human thoughts and emotions transcend language barriers and need to be bridged. Somebody has a phenomenal expression in their language, and the only way to get that expression is to get a mapping of that into our language. It may not be 100% fine, but that's the effort needed to enrich our own expressions. Okay. Two interesting examples. Look at this. You have a board with 3 different languages, same information. Similarly, here in Southeast Asia, where English, Chinese, Tamil, and Malay language, all 4. So most of the government boards and other things have to be in 4 languages. Here, all railway stations and central and state things will have the state language, a Devanagari script language, and the English. Okay. Even more interesting. Approximately 2,500 years back, Helena married Chandragupta, or Helena was given as the 3rd or the 4th wife to Chandragupta by Seleucus. Helena is from Iran, Iraq origin, and she is the daughter of the Greek emperor of the Eastern Greek Empire, Seleucus, who got defeated by Chandragupta. So they definitely needed multilingualism. How do they communicate? I mean, she has to learn Bhojpuri, whereas he has to learn Persian, right? Even more interesting is this pillar in Vidisha. The date of this pillar is 2nd century current era, so which is approximately 2000 years old. The language used is Central Western epigraphic Prakrit with a few Sanskritized spellings. The script used is Brahmi script of the Shunga period. This pillar was issued by Heliodorus, who was a Greek ambassador from Bactria, which is western part of Afghanistan, present Afghanistan. He comes here, donates gold coins, and converts himself to a Vaishnavite. This place in Vidisha, I went there about a year and a half back. Very interesting. Okay. So multilingual, multiculturalism are almost synonymous. And if you need diversity, you have to be both of these. Okay. So we'll see advantages and disadvantages of multilingualism. Ability to understand and interact with different knowledge systems. Socially, economically, more advantages. Enhances our own expression in our own language. And latest health and opportunities proven to improve. Truth can be better discerned in original language. For example, my research guide learned German, French, and Russian so that he could read the original work of the authors instead of the English translation. He said when somebody translates to English or other language, the original truth is already diluted. So if you want to know the real hardcore truth, it's better you read in the original language. So this is one other thing, because it means translations need not be 100% reliable and faithful. The negative part of it is effort spent on multiple language learning, which may not show tangible benefit. More expensive and no cumulative benefits if not consistently used. For example, I learned German about 30 years back, not 40 years back, 45 years back. It was not used because I didn't have any Germans around here and I was not using it. Now I'm lost. I can read because the script is all English. So I can read. I cannot speak and I cannot understand well if somebody speaks, but I can read because the script is English. But that effort done then is waste because for 40 years I did not make good use of it. Okay. So the question is, at what cost? Do you want to master one language or learn multiple languages? This is another choice that comes with people. And today's online translations makes it redundant to learn multiple languages. Very unfortunate. The technology, what it is doing, it is able to give you any material in the language of your choice. The source language can be anything. This online translation is dangerous because while it is convenient, it is slowly killing the language learning ability. Like computers, what has computers done? It has killed reading and writing habit. People don't know how to write now. In fact, if you ask people to write for some time, they start getting pain in the wrist and hand because they're not used to writing for more than 10-15 minutes. Okay. And there's an interesting research done recently all over the world which says bilinguals cuts dementia prevalence in elderly. Numerous scholarly articles, well researched from Europe and USA, they all conclude bilingualism allows for better cognition and lower incidence and degree of dementia. It is indeed a serious problem as USA and to a lesser extent Europe is monolingual. That's why America has some of the world's largest population of dementia people. We have very low dementia people because we have been multilingual for a very long time. Of course, you need medical research to. Oh, now let's get back to language issue. How did these languages evolve? Any difference between spoken and written form? For example, there are hundreds of languages which are in spoken form in India. There are 400 languages in India which don't have a written form. Okay. Is there one source for all languages? And specific to India, what can we say and do about it? Have other nations and cultures also face or are facing similar issues? How did they solve? Okay. Languages, particularly spoken, have been part of human evolution and very recent. Written script have been even more recent. Just yesterday, people started writing. 3 days before that, people started speaking. So, speaking and writing is a very new phenomena in human evolution. We need to understand different phases of human evolution and human migration. So, let's go back in time. Is it? Now, genetics and human anthropology have shown that all humans came from Africa. It's called out of Africa theory. Okay. And they have come over the last 200,000 years. Okay. In different phases, first phase, second phase, and particularly North America, they have been very recent. The last 10-15,000 years, in fact, South America only 10,000 years back people went. Australia 50,000 years back, India 70,000 years, Middle East 1 lakh years back, Europe only 40,000 years back, whereas what 2 lakhs. So the origin definitely is this, and along with this came the idea of language. So now other aspect is the biological evolution. 6 million years back, 0.5, half a million years back, very recent. See, as humans have evolved over the last 6 million years to a modern human being, what one calls Homo sapiens, Our brain volume has increased from what it was. This is one other reason that we talk a lot, we talk better, we talk multiple languages. And this, you see the language diversity in the world. Africa is amazingly rich. Indian subcontinent and Asia, Southeast Asia, amazingly rich. Africa perhaps has, as a continent, has about 400 languages. We as a nation have about 200, 300 languages now. Very little in Central Asia, Central America. North America, very little. South America, only the tropical Brazil area, that side. Otherwise, okay. But Africa, see Europe and Northern Russia and all, hardly anything. All over people speak only one language. Whereas here in India, district to district, people change their language. Okay. Same is Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia is also very rich. So, genetic changes also influence. That is the growth of brain from the Neanderthals to the modern, anatomically modern humans, which are the Homo erectus and followed by human Homo sapiens. Okay. So, domestication of humans so that people meet each other continuously. You see your neighbors regularly. Evolution stages, timing, self-domestication, grammar features. It's a very, see the grammars were all constructed only about over the last 3,000 years. Okay. Before that, there was very poor notion of grammar. Okay. Similarly here, we have moved from simple or less complex languages to more complex languages. There is a genetic change, evolution, both physiological and behavioral change. For example, changes in brain and cognition increase the social complexity. You meet the same person for the next 20 years. He's your neighbor. Earlier, people used to simply migrate every season. You probably will never meet that same person again in your life. Increased juvenile period. As you settle down and formed civilization, children stayed with you for a longer time. Like animals, once the animals grows a little, it leaves the mother and father and goes away. Earlier it used to happen. But today you have a home, you keep children till they grow up. That juvenile period allows people to communicate, increased parenting behavior. We spend a lot of time with children now and teaching through input enhancement. We reinforce, we teach A, B, Ha, all that, right? Both physiological and psychological changes. Just an example, you see how English has changed. The first early English is about 3,000 years, Celtic region. And something remains from there, this idea of ing, continuous tense, ing. And periphrase like did you write this and the place names. Then Roman occupation introduced Latin words. Germanic settlements used Anglo-Saxon contribution. Viking invasion added Old Norse. Norman invasion added Anglo-Norman Old French. During Renaissance, English ended up having French, Latin, Greek, and Italian words. Then the printing press, modern English. And then because of colonization, English had words from Hindi, Persian, Arabic, Turkish, Malay, American English, everything. Okay. So every language has gone through this. Not necessarily the same sequence, but definitely trade, conquest, governance, influence, economic factors, all these are. So can we map some of these to India? For example, when did Greek influence happen? Yes, right from Alexander and Pururava's conflict. We had earlier to that, we had Greek trade with Greeks. How did Roman influence happen? Roman influence did not happen in North India, but it happened in South India. In Muzares, Karur, Pumpuhar, Kaveripatnam, South India had lot of Roman contact. When did the Persian influence happen? It happened in the Middle Ages. What about Sanskrit? Sanskrit never started from here, it came from somewhere, but it got rooted. What about Tamil and Dravidian languages? The Kannada that I speak and Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam. What of languages with no script like Kodava, Konkani, Sanketi? So many languages which have no script. For example, court language was Persian for 700 years. Mughal rule, earlier to Mughal rule, the Delhi Sultanates, Persian was the court language. Look at this. In 1785, in Srirangpatna, which was then under Hyder Ali and Tipu, they imposed Persian as a court language. The native language was Kannada. Nobody, hardly, maybe not even 1 in 1,000 knew Persian, but they imposed Persian as the court language. English was both the court and the administrative language from 1825 to 1947. People did not know English. Even now, majority of the population, even why 10% know English in India. We also had French, Dutch, Portuguese in India. For example, even in Puducherry now, the second language is French, Tamil and French, Diu, Daman, all these places. China faced and is facing an even bigger issue. They have no English base. Suddenly they have to deal with the technological world and economic world, which is all English. That's why the most lucrative job in China is as an English teacher. A good English teacher gets more money than a software engineer. Much worse in West Asia, which doesn't want to learn English, doesn't want to learn anything other than Arabic or Persian or whatever. So, this is about 4,500 years back that the first Proto-Indo-European languages started, from which all today you see. It has taken almost 3,000 years for it to refine and adapt and evolve and incorporate, change, all that, but it has gone. And some languages have become dead. For example, the Albanian language never propagated further. It's very interesting because in the Albanian language, you find original aspects of a Proto-Indo-European language. All others have slowly moved down. Finally, you now see Spanish, Portuguese, French, English, Dutch, German, Hindi, Urdu, Farsi, Kurdish, Ukrainian, Russian language, Pashtun, Avestan, which is the Zoroastrian language, which is now practiced very little. Eastern Europe, Iranian, main Iranian language, Western Iranian, Old Persian here, Indo-Iranian Aryan language, changed to Vedic Sanskrit. From Vedic Sanskrit, you ended up with classical Sanskrit. Vedic Sanskrit went to Prakrit. Prakrit gave you Marathi, Sinhala. Then Magadhi language, which are Odia, Bengali, and Bhojpuri. Then the Central Indic, Punjabi, Sindhu, Sindhi, Hindi, Gujarati, Nepali, all that. Hindustani, finally Hindi. Hindi is only 900 to 1000 years old. It's one of the newest languages. This Vedic Sanskrit was oral. There was no written component in Vedic Sanskrit. So there is a lot of difference between language and script. You have more languages, very little script. For example, for all these languages, up to German, Dutch, English, French, you would still use English alphabets with little variation derived from Latin and other places. Okay. Fact that most languages are rooted. Look at this word for two. The first Proto-Indo-European language 4,500 years back would call it do. Then it became duo, du, di, thou, dva, du, dai, du. So then finally in English, this dio become twi. Then it became tu, zwei in German, zwei, tu in twa, tu, so much. Everywhere here, Baloch, Persian, Kurdish, Sanskrit, dvi, don, dui, du, zi, so much, just this word, clearly saying that there are important roots to all modern languages. Okay. So you look at the Indo-European languages, very similar. Sanskrit, try. Serbian, try. English, 3. Dvi, dva, 2. Sa, ses, 6. Plenty. So in fact, learning carefully, linguists now know how to learn one language. So this is exactly the model which is used for translation. Of course, first evidence of multilingual writing, perhaps a translation, is a recording in the what is now today modern Iraq, 2270 BC. So you see this translation. Script is the same. Script is the same. Language is different. First recording of bilingual. This is even more interesting. You see, there is a human being here. This is the height of this. This is where this inscription is. This inscription is using cuneiform script, but written in 3 different languages. Script is the same. So in Eastern, the inscription by Xerxes, King Xerxes, one between the year 516 to 485 BC, which is approximately 2600, written in Old Persian, Elamite language, and the Akkadian language, but using the same script. This is even more interesting. Discovered in 1799, a village, its French word is Rosetta, it's in Egypt. The Egyptian name is different. Multilingual necessity in strong economic cultures. Egyptian civilization was very rich, very powerful. You had the same information in 3 languages. Egyptian hieroglyphics, Egyptian demotic script, which is the language which Jesus Christ used to speak, and ancient Greek, which is the language of the rulers. And this French linguist deciphered it based on his knowledge of ancient Greek and knowledge of demotic language. He was able to decipher the Egyptian hieroglyphics language. Okay. Unlike the Indus script, which is still today not deciphered correctly. Okay. This is another interesting thing. Once the script came, people started building libraries. So this is a 2nd century, so 2000-year-old library, which in Athens, which says library open from sunrise to noon. No book is to be taken out, which means you have to sit inside the library and read. All these are, and this was done on oath that you will not take any book outside. The library is open from sunrise to noon. And this is how the language spread. Lot of trade across the, what is called the original Silk Route. So this created huge amount of talking each other, and now nothing surprising. Why this thing is like this? See, lot of this is the part of the Silk Route and further down for trade and commerce. Okay. This is interesting that on the other side of the Hindu Kush mountain in Afghanistan, there is a Rabatak inscription done in 133 AD, which means approximately 2100 years back. This is in Roman script, and there is a mention of Hindu god Mahasena, plus many other things mentioned, which is interesting because this is here, you see. This is a Hindu Kush pass from which all the invaders also came. This is the Rabatak place where they just, and this, on this inscription, when you read, you will get names of Ayodhya called as Saketa, Patliputra, Srikampa, Kausambi. In fact, this inscription was one of the evidences given in the Ram Janmabhoomi court case. What is interesting is, since large number of languages in the north are what one calls the Devanagari script, what is the source of Sanskrit? It appears to be around the Caspian Sea. Okay. The closest we have is a Mitanni kingdom of the old. This language appears to be one of the early versions of Sanskrit, which even had the god of fire, Agni, Indra, whatever, right? It appears to have developed around here, became more widespread here, and then you see, you had Vedic Sanskrit, from which the written Sanskrit emerged. That led to Prakrit, okay? That Prakrit led to Maharashtrian, which is Marathi and Konkani. It also gave you Pali. It gave you Saurashtra region, from which Hindustani came. From Hindustani, Hindu and Urdu emerged. Okay, from Hindi, Haryani came. Similarly, here the West Indic, Marwari, Gujarati, and Romani. North Indian, Dogri, Punjabi, and Sindhi language. So this is, and in the Magadha region, Odia, Bengali, Assami, all Bihari, Bhojpuri, Mithali, all this came, right? This is, now this is approximately 70% of India's languages, okay? It's called the Indo-Aryan language. So what is interesting is, people comment a lot about the oral tradition, and the best response for that is, this renowned Indologist from Harvard University, the Vedic texts were orally composed and transmitted without the use of script, in an unbroken line of transmission from teacher to student that was formalized early on. This ensured an impeccable textual transmission superior to the classical texts of other cultures. It is, in fact, something like a tape recording of the year 1500 to 500 BC, not just the actual words, but even the long lost musical accent has been preserved up to the present. On the other hand, the Vedas have been written down only during the early second millennium current era, while some sections such as collection of Upanishads were perhaps written down at the middle of the first millennium, while some early unsuccessful attempts indicated by certain Smriti rules forbidding to write down the Vedas may have been made around the end of the first millennium BC. So the oral tradition dominated. Writing appears to have come. In fact, the first recording of writing is in the Brahmi script. And these are two things. Emperor Ashoka's edict at Maski, which has all this plus mention of his name. This is his stone edict in a place called Brahmagiri. What's interesting is Karnataka seems to have a lot of these things. Okay. And you see how the script, Brahmi script came. This is current English, A, K, G, T, all that. This is archaic Roman, that is old Roman, old Greek, old Phoenicians. This is the Brahmi script. Today, this has slowly developed to modern Hindi or Devanagari version. See, this P has become Pa. This is the original Brahmi script. B has become Ba. What is B there now in English is Ba here, and it all started with this. Slowly, V has become Va. So Devanagari script only developed around 10th to 11th century. Okay, this is it. You can see here all Indo-European languages, then the Indo-Iranian languages, which led to all the languages we have now here, including Persian, Kurdish, Baluchi, Pashtun, Kashmiri, Sindh, Punjabi, Sinhala, Oriya, Bengali, Nepali, Hindi, all this, and the Indo-European language, which led to English, German, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and Russian. So there's some common root to this. Okay. This is a language tree you can see here. Proto-Indo-European languages, dominant languages like Albanian, Armenian, Balto-Slavic, Indo-Iranian, Anatolian, Celtic, Germanic, Hellenistic, Italian, Tokochar. You see in India, we have 22 scheduled languages with written script. Nepali, Devanagari. Manipuri, Methi Mek, Devanagari script. Devanagari and Modi script. Kannada script. Konkani is written in Devanagari. Malayalam is in Malayalam Lipi. Tamil script, right? So predominantly Devanagari and modifications of that. And what is interesting is look at the Dravidian languages, which don't seem to have this Indo-European origin. Today, the Dravidian languages are prevalent here. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra, little pockets of Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, all this, one small portion near the West Bengal, and a very big portion in the Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan-Afghanistan border called the Brahui. So these may have, in fact, now if you look at West Asia, the Sumerian, this Sumer kingdom which we saw here, even earlier to this, the Indo-Iran region, that may have led to growth of, and there is some Sumer genetic code of DNA and Tamil which seems to have some links, plus some Sumer and Tamil similarity. Uru, Ur, Amma, Amma, Pab, Appa, Rasag, Rasan. So plenty of words are common between Sumer and the Tamil, which is a Dravidian language. So the new speculation is a lot of work still going on. About 8,000 years back, the Proto-Dravidian language may have started south of the Caspian Sea, which is today what is called the Zaragoza Mountains on the southern part of Iran. And they probably came to the Indus Valley civilization 4,000 years back and moved down to South India. Okay. You can see that you have Proto-Dravidian, North Dravidian, Central Dravidian, South Dravidian. Then you had two versions. In the Proto-South Dravidian one, you have Tamil, Malayalam, Irula, Kodagu, Kurumba, Toda, Koda, Bagada, Kannada, Korga, and Tulu, and other Telugu, Gondi, all that. So these languages here are more closer to Telugu. These are very similar in script because Malayalam is only a 10th century language like Hindi. Whereas Telugu and Kannada are sufficiently old. Of course, now people will start fighting like what is happening. It's now taken a political. So you had Proto-Dravidian, Southern Dravidian, Tamil and Kannada split here. And then here Northern Dravidian, it went to Malto and Brahui. Central Dravidian went to all this Telugu, Korga, Gond, Kui, all this. So plenty of Dravidian languages. So today the completely defined language models are this. We have finite language, regular, deterministic context-free language, which is basically computer languages now, non-deterministic, unambiguous, inherently ambiguous, context-free, context-sensitive. All these are spoken languages, and all the possible languages with all the alphabets. So this has taken about 3,000 years to evolve and refine itself. Today, all of you do online translation, use ChatGPT and all that. What they do is the following. There's a neural network which does what is called the large language model. Suppose I want convert Hindi to English. I have a Hindi encoder. Then I do neural mapping and the decoder gives me English. So that is a Hindi to English mapping. Similarly, I can build a English to Marathi mapping translator. Now, if I do this, I can put Hindi and get Marathi out. This is what they are doing. But today, almost when you type Google and say which language you want to see, you have a choice. In another few years, you will have multiple choices. So probably the need to learn a language, of course, it's not very accurate, very fine. It's not very poetic, all this, but there shall be some improvement. Okay. So some observations, three language formula is very useful. It would be interesting to have mother tongue, which is either Dravidian or Devanagari. You have a second language, which is English. English is more, not a good language, but it's definitely a economic and a knowledge language. 90% of the knowledge is in the world is represented in English, and almost 95% of the economy in the world is dealt in English. So English is an economic and a knowledge language rather than a cultural and a linguistic knowledge. The third language can be reverse of the mother tongue. So if somebody has a mother tongue which is Dravidian, they can have a Devanagari third language and vice versa. Suppose you want to learn a fourth language, learning Spanish will be useful because South America is the largest continent with the least population, and people have started migrating there. Like people were migrating to America 150 years back and migrating to Australia in the last 15, 20 years. Russian is useful because Russia has the world's largest land area with a very small population, which is also shrinking now. Japanese is useful because Japanese is a completely geriatric society with no children, hardly any children. Okay. Or the Slavic language, which gives you opportunity in Northern Europe. England is crowded. Even if you know English, it's not worth going to England. Germany, France, and other Southern Europe is in a mess. So very good. Very good economic opportunities are in Northern Europe, which you need a Slavic language. Okay. So we will conclude now. What are the benefits of language learning? In youth, you improve your cognition, you improve your life skills, you also improve your test scores, whatever, admission, stuff like that. So you have enhanced learning. During the career phase, adulthood, higher success in college, higher earnings, higher chance of employability. For example, today so many rural children, if they know English, they get jobs in urban area. Of course, I'm not saying great jobs, low level jobs. This is one thing that happens. Children in Goa, whose mother tongue is now English almost, quite a lot of them, all of them get a job because they know English. Same in Bangalore, communities like uh, Anglo-Indians whose mother tongue is English, they have a striking advantage over others in getting employment which uses communication, either housekeeping or front desk or anything that uses language skills. What is interesting is in your mature phases, multilinguality is proven to give you more healthier brain. It is also giving you better chance to recovery from injuries. Okay. So I am done now. What we will do is we will share or ask questions.
Sir, myself, Ravikant.